Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the Full Gear Report for AEW 2021. Certainly a very popular pay-per-view, certainly a very effective pay-per-view, but not exactly, you know, this is, not exactly the best for in terms of just long-term run there, but anyway. Kind of go from here into and being almost a week behind on this report. My apologies, but my schedule has been super busy, and so hasn't been at a level where I could get to this as quickly as I wanted to. We will have Impact up tonight, provided my schedule doesn't change too much more, and ultimately lead in a positive direction that way. In any event, we continue the Full Gear Report, and it was a heck of a show. This is for November 13th of 2021. The buy-in's pretty simple. Tony Schiavone interviews Dante Martin in ring about his offer to join Team Taz. Team Taz is watching up in the skybox. Martin can't answer. The Acclaim interrupts, offered for him to join them, and Leo Rush will soon be in his 15th retirement, according to Max Caster, and Team Taz are the only ones that get less TV time than the Acclaim. And needless to say, Martin does a dive onto the members of Team Taz, gets things going there, and or the Acclaimed rather, gets things going, pops the crowd early. The one match for the buy-in is Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida defeating Nyla Rose, Jamie Hayter with Vicky Guerrero. 12:03 didn't need to necessarily be this long, but it wasn't a bad match to say the least. Thunder Rosa gets a pair of near falls on Nyla Rose early. Crowd is into the match and into the baby faces in general. Rosa and Shida try to suplex Rose. Rose counters and sends them both over instead. Rosa then takes to getting beat up in the heel corner and dodges a charge from Hayter in the corner and gets tagged off to Shida. Shida, who doesn't necessarily want to take a backward step, hits a drop kick off the middle rope, and Hayter and Rosa low bridge. Shida then sends her to the floor in front of Serena Deeb in the crowd. We don't really know why she's in the crowd, so it's a little weird. In the ring, Hayter works over Shida with a chinlock. The heat is taken on Shida and seems to go on longer than it needed to. Commentators use this to plug the actual pay-per-view card. Shida hits a crossbody off the middle ropes onto the floor, onto Nyla Rose, and Rosa comes off to the floor with a crossbody on Hayter. Spots for the sake of spots. Deeb distracts Shida, and Guerrero hits Shida on the previously injured knee from earlier in the match. Back in the ring, Hayter hits a superplex on Shida, and Rose follows up by Rosa. Rose then goes to finish Shida with the Beast Bomb, but Shida rolls through with a jackknife cradle for the pin, hot opener, and then Tony Schiavone interviews Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, signed for Wednesday. Butcher and the Blade against Orange Cassidy with a partner of his choosing. MJF defeats Darby Allin to open the pay-per-view in 22 minutes. This was a phenomenal match. Crowd is chanting for Darby before he comes out. He blows up a car in a video and has the word loser painted on the car, and it's played before the contest. Beautiful mat work from both guys early. Both guys exchange a ton of near falls and holds. After both men exchanged deep arm drags and they nip up, they basically get a standing elevation along with the crowd chanting AEW in their general direction. MJF lands a sucker punch and dumps Allin onto the floor, hits a clothesline, and then tosses Allin back in the ring. Gets distracted by a fan, and Allin launches himself into like a missile through the ropes, and MJF tries to regain control. Allin sets up MJF for the coffin drop on the apron, but MJF avoids it, and Allin bounces off the apron to the floor. Back in the ring, MJF drops an elbow, gets a near fall with a backbreaker. MJF slows down and does some Irish whips and reverses into a third high impact backbreaker, tweaks his knee on the second backbreaker, and this establishes the story for the match. Darby Allin's back gets worked over. MJF has knee problems for the remainder of the match, and a good story is told for all. Allen comes back with slams and a headbutt to MJF's jaw. Allen then sets up a second attempt at the coffin drop, but that doesn't go the way he wants it to go. But MJF rolls out of the way. MJF counters into a Rana and a backbreaker that's into a power bomb for another near fall. MJF locks on the Scorpion Deathlock, but Allen counters and attacks MJF's previously injured knee. Allen follows up with a chop block to the figure 4 leg lock. MJF then turns over the pressure, but Allen gets in the ropes and has a break of the hold. Both men roll out to the apron, and then they struggle to their feet and begin exchanging punches. Allen tries to suplex MJF, but MJF counters and then hits a jumping tombstone on the apron. MJF hurts his knee on the move, but MJF made it back to the ring. Allen barely beats the 10 count. MJF sells his injured leg like crazy, and Allen counters a suplex attempt with a small package. Both guys counter each other's respective pin attempts, and there's a bunch of near falls, probably about 24. Allen then hits code red for 2 that gets a huge pop from the crowd. Back in the ring after a coffin drop on the floor. Allen goes for the coffin drop again. MJF raises his knees, and both guys are down. MJF because of his knee, and Allen because of his back. Wardlow and Shawn Spears try to interfere, but Sting destroys them with the bat, and then the fans are chanting "Fight Forever." Match is a great opener. Back in the ring, MJF goes for Allen's skateboard, tries to get him to use it. The referee catches the skateboard. MJF slips the dynamite diamond ring on and nails Darby Allin with it, getting a victory with, of all things, a side headlock like he promised he would do. Tremendous opener. One of the better matches of the night, to be completely honest. Lucha Brothers defeat FTR with Tully Blanchard to retain the AEW World Tag Team Champions in 19 minutes. This honestly went too long, and it was chaotic. If you like the Lucha Brothers, you'll probably like this match. FTR does drag them to a decent match. If you don't like the Lucha Brothers, or you just aren't into Lucha style like me, you'll see where this could easily be seen as a waste of FTR. Anyway, action for the match goes pretty nuts. Throughout, from the opening bell, Lucha Brothers pile up both members of FTR in the corner. Penta Monkey flips his own partner into them. Penta then gets FTR in the corner and goes for a top rope and gets a near fall. Wheeler then ties Penta's mask to the bottom rope. Then the match slows with FTR working over Penta. Penta and Harwood take each other down with a clothesline. Penta then backdrops Harwood out. Pile driver attempt, then hits him with a DDT. He then gets a tag to Phoenix, and Phoenix hits both members of FTR with a cutter, getting a near fall on Harwood. Phoenix then hits a top rope knee strike on Harwood for another near fall. Wheeler then hits Phoenix with the AAA title belts, and then Harwood hits a brain buster. Phoenix kicks out at the near fall. Harwood then hits Wheeler and hits an assisted backdrop suplex for another near fall. FTR then goes for the big rig, but Phoenix makes a blind tag to Penta. Tully Blanchard interferes and trips up one of the Lucha Brothers, and then they counter into a series of trades where both teams try to go for the Three Amigos. The Lucha Brothers, as babyfaces, eventually hit them, and then Harwood is victimized with a frog splash from half the tag team champions, and they chant for Eddie Guerrero since this is the anniversary of his passing. Rest in peace. Anyway, Phoenix then hits a rebound hook kick on Wheeler. Lucha Brothers go for the Fear Factor, but Wheeler breaks it up. FTR hits a spike pile driver on Phoenix for another near fall. Crowd is honestly solidly behind the Lucha Brothers. Phoenix counters the assisted brainbuster with a small package for another near fall. Penta and Phoenix go for the Fear Factor, and Phoenix springs over Penta and into Harwood with a cross body, and both members are down asking for things to go their way. Wheeler then is the illegal man, comes back into the ring wearing a Rana's mask from the tag title switch for the AAA titles a few weeks ago. Lucha Brothers are in control. They hit their version of Stuff Pile Driver on Wheeler, and Penta gets the pin. They pin the wrong man, thus setting up a potential another rematch. I still don't agree with FTR losing. They're a much better tag team than the Lucha Brothers by far, unless you like Lucha, in which case you probably don't understand that concept. Bryan Danielson defeats Miro in the World Title Eliminator final. Danielson delivers a bunch of really good strikes, about at a rate of 9 or 10 to 1. Miro comes back. Danielson has a black eye from a previous match, and then he gets hit hard on a shoulder tackle. Danielson comes back with a flying clothesline and drop kicks Miro out to the floor. Danielson then goes for the plancha. Miro catches him and back breaks him, and Miro tosses Danielson into the barricade and into the ring steps. Back in the ring, Miro hits a pair of suplexes for near fall. Danielson mounts a comeback. And then kicks and chops until Miro catches him with a fallaway slam and a near fall. Fight then goes to the floor. Danielson sends Miro into the ring post, comes off the apron with a running knee. Back in the ring, Danielson hits a shotgun dropkick off the top. Crowd chant, "Let's go Miro, Miro sucks." And there's a bunch of kicks and other strikes. Miro blocks the last kick, but Danielson turns it into a sunset flip and a near fall, then rolls into a knee bar. Miro nearly taps, but is able to get out, and then powers out into a deadlift German. Miro follows up with a release German suplex, but comes up holding his knee regardless. Danielson flips out of the back suplex and attempts and catches Miro with a kick, lands into Miro and hits him in the head and ribs and knees. Danielson then traps Miro's arm and stomps a mud hole in him pretty aggressively. Danielson then goes for flying knee, but Miro counters into the powerbomb for a near fall. Miro locks on the game over, and after Danielson teases the tap out, Danielson makes it to the ropes. Miro then goes for the game over and for the second time, but Danielson flips through into the label lock. Miro then powers out and nails Danielson with forearms, but Danielson counters that, and then Miro goes to the eyes. Danielson then goes after Miro with forearms. Miro absorbs them and levels one of his own. Danielson gets a few kicks off. Miro levels him with one forearm. Danielson catches Miro with a spinning DDT off the top rope and then locks on the guillotine. Ref stops the match because Miro has either passed out or is unable to continue. Bryan Danielson is your new number one contender for the winner of the Omega and Page match. Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy defeats Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, with Brandon Cutler and Michael Nakazawa in a Falls Count Anywhere match. If they're going to do another one of these tonight, why do they need to do this one? No one really knows. Jungle Boy's team is dressed for a fight. Then Young Bucks take Jungle Boy out with a double clothesline. Luchasaurus hits a double clothesline on the Young Bucks himself. Cole then takes out Luchasaurus with a chair shot early in the match, and then Jungle Boy goes for powerbomb. Cole is almost powerbombed on the chair, but Young Bucks save him. Cole then goes for his signature taunt, but that doesn't come together. Cage then catches him with an inverted DDT on the chair. Luchasaurus hits a German suplexes both Young Bucks at once, and then Jungle Boy nails a pair of dives on Cole to the outside. So they fight on the floor. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy send Cole headfirst into the chair. Cole then comes back with Bloody into the fight. First major blade job of the night. Christian Cage and Nick Jackson brawl to the back. Luchasaurus then goes to the crucifix powerbomb on Cole, but slides out and hits a super kick. Everyone super kicks everyone else, and why not? Because we don't need psychology. Jungle Boy catches Cole with a Rana and then go over the ropes to the floor, sending Cole through a table. Matt Jackson then drops an elbow off the top rope on Luchasaurus through the table. Um, and then Christian Cage and Nick brawl into the crowd. Brandon Cutler tries to use a spray on Cage, but he misses. Sets up a crazy dive from Cage off the balcony, which at 47, 48 years old, why do you bother? I don't get it. Anyway, uh, Nick, Nick and Christian Cage brawled back to the ring through the crowd. Cole uses a wheelbarrow suplex and sends Jungle Boy into the edge of the ring with first trouble. The Bucks find thumbtacks and stuff them in Jungle Boy's mouth, a spot I completely hate. I'm sure they're gimmicked. I'm sure it's reasonably safe, but at the same time, in the off sense that a thumbtack gets swallowed, that would be detrimental, obviously. Anyway, Cole and the Bucks did camel clutch super kick spot with the thumbtacks in Jungle Boy's mouth for a near fall. Christian looks like he might have hurt himself, and he ends up getting his leg caught in a ladder to prove this. It's a spinning DDT. Cole takes an electric chair drop from Luchasaurus onto a ladder. Luchasaurus choke slams Nick onto the ladder for a near fall. Matt then breaks up the pinfall attempt by using a trash can to nail Luchasaurus. Anyway, Luchasaurus chases Matt Jackson up the ramp. Jungle Boy catches him and locks on the snare trap. Cole then breaks it up and they fight on the ramp. Christian then goes for the kill switch, but the Bucks break that up too. Several bumps off the top of the ramp, which teases Christian going for the spear. Cole catches him with a super kick. Cole then hits Jungle Boy with a Panama Sunrise on the entrance ramp. Jumping off the entrance tunnel, Cole then puts thumbtacks, knee pads, and the Bucks have their thumbtack knee pads. And ultimately, Luchasaurus breaks up a pin attempt there. Luchasaurus recovers and chokeslams Nick Jackson off the stage onto the Stooges on the floor and hits a shooting star press off the stage onto his waiting opponents. There's a setup of the concerto back in the ring. Jungle Boy gets the other chair. Jungle Boy beats one of the Bucks. And if you like this sort of thing, Jungle Boy and his team are victorious. Cody Rhodes and Pac with Arn Anderson defeat Mikael Black and Andrade with Jose, 1650. This is a match that easily could have been cut from the show. Cody and Pac teased dissension early. Black and Andrade get along a little bit better, but not terribly much. Cody is solidly booed by the crowd, even though he's trying to do Make-A-Wish things for kids. First big offensive move of the match is a power slam by Cody, and even that gets booed. Pac then worked over in the heel corner by both heels, but they didn't get along that well either. Cody then gets tagged, gets a cutter on Black. Rhodes then teases a Tiger Driver, but then gets floored with a spin kick on Black. Pac then manages, who as a legal man, gets a moonsault on Black and Andrade on the floor. Everyone out. Jose tries to get in. Arn Anderson nails him for his trouble. Back in the ring, heels take over on Pac, and Andrade hits a spinning crossbody to the floor. Rhodes is still on the floor. He's selling a spin kick, and the match is relatively 2-on-1. And needless to say, Andrade then manages a split leg moonsault for a near fall. Pac then catches El Idolo on the rebound with the German suplex for his trouble. Pac then goes for the tag belts, but Rhodes is still selling on the floor. Andrade charges Pac with a boot and then hits a slingshot DDT for another near fall. It just seems overdone. Pac then catches Black with a super kick, and Rhodes is finally in the corner for the tag. Rhodes gets the tag, and they do the flip-flop and fly spot, hitting a disaster kick on Black. Rhodes then hits a reverse superplex on Elidolo for another near fall, and then they pop the crowd. Rhodes hits a lariat on Black on the floor. Back in the ring, Elidolo manages to keep things going, gets the figure four on. Rhodes counters that and locks on his own figure four. Pac then targets 450 splash on Andrade, but if only gets 2 count. Back in the ring, Andrade hits the hammerlock DDT. Pac counters that into and suplexes Andrade into the turnbuckles. Pac then hits a Poison Rana and Black Arrow on Elidolo, and then gets the win for his team. Decent enough tag match, but in a show that's already going to run long, doesn't necessarily need to be needed now. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, with Rebel and Jamie Hayter, defeats Ty Conti to retain the women's world title, 15-13. Probably went a little longer than he needed to. Could have cut 3 or 4 minutes off this. It would have been fine. Both women do have special entrances. Conti is draped in the Brazilian flag. Baker is played to the ring by the guitarist from Chris Jericho's band. Baker's frustrated frustrates her opponent with some near falls early. Conti comes back and hits a surfboard and teases the DDT. Baker easily escapes that early. Conti then catches Baker with judo throws. Conti then goes for the Juju Itami, but Baker gets the ropes. Baker counters the move. Baker then catches Conti with the double underhook suplex to take some control. Baker then slows down the pace of the match. She then gets a near fall with a fisherman neck breaker and then goes for the lockjaw. But Conti escapes and then ends up hammering on Baker for the trouble. Still in and works over the injured hand. Conti then manages to get into the corner, charging a grip from every corner, and ultimately Conti hits a leg drop and a leaping kick and a release German suplex for another near fall. Baker hits a hangman's neckbreaker and then rolls through, suplex, and attempts the curve stomp. Baker then gets the glove for the lockjaw. Conti hits a cutter for another near fall. Conti is frustrated by her inability to get rid of Baker. Conti and Baker brawl out on the apron. Conti then goes for a Gotch-style piledriver, but Baker counters into an air raid crash on the apron. Everything's done on the apron these days. Back in the ring, Baker then goes for the lockjaw, but Conti made it to the ropes. Conti hits the TKO for another near fall, and a Gotch-style piledriver for another. Rebel distracts the ref. Jamie Hayter pulls Conti out of the ring. Baker then hits the curve stomp on the apron and then nails the steel steps. Back in the ring, Baker then goes for the lockjaw, but Conti counters that and winds up in the ropes. Conti then takes out Rebel and Hayter with a top rope moonsault to the floor. It looked like she could have easily injured everyone involved, including herself. And then nails Baker with the spinning throw. Back in the ring, Conti hits the DDT for a 2 count. Conti then goes for the DDT again, but Baker then counters into the lockjaw, and then Conti reverses into the cradle, but Baker then reversed into the cradle of her own and holds down Conti for the 3 count. But I don't know, not the best of matches for the two. Anyway, CM Punk defeats Eddie Kingston 11:09. This is one of the matches I was actually really looking forward to. And ultimately, that runs there. Punk wears UFC-style trunks. Before the start of the match, Kingston hits the spinning back fist on Punk, and basically Punk sells it like $1 million. And after a brief fight on the floor, match is in the ring. Punk hits a charging knee into the corner. Kingston comes back with an exploder suplex. Punk hits a clothesline from the middle rope. Crowd's behind Punk, and then kind of switches to Kingston midway through the match. They do some basic wrestling, including the mount position and some kicks to the chest. Kingston counters with a poke to the eye. They fight on the apron. Punk catches Kingston with an enziguri. Fans go nuts, and they're pretty 50-50 split. Crowd settles into both these guys chant, and everybody's happy. Punk, Kingston sends Punk into things in the ring at the ring post. Punk then is busted open. Kingston wipes Punk's blood on his face like war paint. I hate that whole concept, but anyway, Kingston then goes for a pile driver on the floor, and Punk escapes with a backdrop. Punk hits Kingston with a flying clothesline off the apron. Then we go back to the ring. Punk then hits a back suplex and teases Cena's five knuckle shuffle. Kingston gets flipped off instead for his trouble. And then Punk then hits Three Amigos on Kingston, and then the crowd applauds that. That's like the third or fourth time we've seen that tonight. I understand people like Eddie, but there are other ways to show tributes. Anyway, Punk then heads to the top, but Kingston catches him, and both guys pull themselves into opposite corners, charges into the center of the ring to exchange punches. Kingston then catches Punk with a boot and an enziguri. Kingston then signals he would go for the GTS, but Punk catches Kingston with it instead. Punk then is two out of it to really get into the corner. Gets almost hit with back fist again, but Punk dodges it. Punk then elbows and knees Kingston, and the crowd boos. Punk then hits a second GTS and gets the pinfall. And needless to say, that's kind of there. After the match, Punk extends his hand, and so Kingston and kind of things go with Kingston. Kingston then walks away without shaking his hand. Punk didn't get booed after the win, but didn't really get the big cheers that most people would expect. Then we see Baron Von Raschke in the crowd. He's shown at ringside. Then we go to a match that probably could have been on Dynamite but didn't need to be here because again the pay-per-view's running wrong. Jericho, TNT champion Sammy Guevara, Santana Ortiz, Jake Hager defeat Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and American Top Team Junior Dos Santos, Andre Orlovsky and Dan Lambert in a Minneapolis street fight. This started out as a regular tag team match. Guevara and Scorpio Sky are in there. Sky takes a beating from Guevara. Santana and Ortiz also are in charge for much of the opening minutes. Hager does an impressive suplex. And then Orlovsky gets the tag. He brawls with Hager. Dos Santos and Jericho both get tags. Dos Santos power slams and suplexes Jericho. Dos Santos then hits a standing moonsault for a near fall. Jericho downs Lambert and gets tagged. And of course, Lambert overplays his maneuvers. And soon all the members of both teams are in the ring. Everybody's brawling. Jericho chases Lambert around the ring. And Ethan Page hit him with a hockey stick. Guevara then hits a spinning tope on Page. Santana and Ortiz follow up with dives of their own, and Hager does a crazy dive onto the pile. Everyone on the floor is happy with this. Anyway, in the ring, Men of the Year basically pair off with Santana and Ortiz. Page then winds up with a trash can, and he gets nailed in the head, nails Santana in the head. Then the use of the hockey stick returns. Santana and Ortiz tie up Page, and Scorpio in submission holds. Orlovsky helps Page beat on Ortiz, but Hager returns and beats on both guys with a toaster. Yes, a toaster. Jericho came in, and both Men of the Year are in ski and snowboard apparatus. Lambert pulls Jericho out of the ring, and before they could do more damage, Guevara hits a springboard cutter on both Men of the Year members, and Dos Santos sends Jericho into the steps on the floor. Guevara then hits a senton atomico on Sky for the near fall. Hager then manages to keep things going, starts beating on guys with a cake pan, and Tony Schiavone gives us a lesson about bunt kicks, and Santana Ortiz hit a double superplex on Dos Santos. Guevara then comes out on top of that, and he also moves off a ridiculously high ladder. Scorpio Sky is put through the table on the floor. Page then launches Ortiz on the floor with a crucifix powerbomb. Page then gets into it with a fan who might have been the wife of Jake Hager at ringside. She's next to Baron Von Raschke puts the claw on and then dumps Page in the crowd. Lambert's in the ring alone with Jericho. Jericho goes to Lion Salt, but Dos Santos catches him with a shot. Lambert then hits a near fall. Jericho finds a kendo stick and starts to beat Lambert up with it. Jericho then finds a stapler and hits Lambert in the crotch with it. Jericho then comes off the top. This is not my thing. Obviously, the Inner Circle wins the match. Big surprise there. Matches for Wednesday's Dynamite. Orange Cassidy and Ishii versus the Butcher and the Blade. The Acclaimed versus Leo Rush, Dante Martin, and Hakushi and Nyla Rose. Tony Schiavone brings out the newest signee, Jay Lethal. I'm not a fan of this due to Lethal's personal and professional transgressions in previous years, but lots of people are a fan of it, so it is what it is. Anyway, Lethal challenges Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Guevara came out and accepted, and now it's time for your main event in a show that, again, ran about 2 matches too long. This is a long-term storyline running about 2.5, 3 years. Page and Omega exchange chops early. Omega gets an advantage after Don Callis, his manager, trips up his adversary. Omega then goes for comes back up and gets distracted by the referee. Callis chokes Page against the middle rope. Page then comes back with a springboard lariat on the apron and a plancha onto Omega on the floor. On the floor, Omega sends him back into the ring. Also, the pre-match video for Page was amazing. Page comes back with a suplex on the floor. Page comes off the top of the crossbody for a 1 count. Omega then catches Page with a thumb to the eye, and Pie faces the Hangman. Omega then dumps Page to the floor again. Callis attacks him. Omega teases going for the buckshot lariat. Page comes back, and Omega manages to stop that thought. Back in the ring, Omega goes for the "you can't escape," and Page did escape. He didn't get his boots up on Omega's chest. Omega charges Page and runs into the high boot. Page then hits more chops and sends Omega to the floor with a fallaway slam. Page then follows him out with a suicide dive, then comes off the top with a top rope moonsault on the floor. This gets a huge pop from the crowd, and back in the ring, Page hits a brainbuster for a near fall. Page then takes Omega off the top for a superplex, but Omega fights out of it and then hits Page with a springboard top rope powerbomb. And then back in the ring, Omega hits V-trigger. Omega set things up for the one-winged angel, but Page then counters with a victory roll for the near fall. Page then catches Omega with a German suplex, but Omega comes back with a Tiger Driver for a near fall. Crowd chanted for Hangman again, while Omega punches down from a mountain position and hits Page in the forehead. Omega then goes to the top. Page crotches him, but Omega rolls out to the floor again. Page comes off the top ring post. Page then pulls off a little camera on the post, hits a lariat, and sends them all down. Eventually goes through a table. Page then loosens and sends Omega back into the ring. Page then goes for the buckshot, but Omega drops out of the way. Page then goes for the B-trigger, but Omega ducks it. Page then comes back with a pop-up powerbomb and goes for the buckshot lariat, but Omega pulls the referee out of the way. With the referee out, Callis tries to attack Page with the belt. Page takes Callis out. Omega tries to hit Paige with the belt, but Paige ducks and hits the Deadeye. Aubrey Edwards runs down to do the delayed count deal. Anyway, so Paige and Omega begin executing and exchanging punches and forearms. Omega then gets the advantage and goes for the V trigger. Paige blocks that, and Omega hits the V trigger on the second try, but Paige comes back with a rolling forearm. Omega hits a series of kicks, and Paige gets nailed in the head. With both men down, the Young Bucks slowly make their way out of the ring, and Omega hits a backdrop driver on Paige, but Paige comes back with his own. Paige then goes for the buckshot, but Omega catches him with a V trigger. Omega then goes for the one-winged angel, but Paige counters it with one of his own for near fall. In front of the Bucks, Paige hits the buckshot lariat to the back of Omega's head. Paige then goes for the other side of the ring. Matt Jackson is there. He's now standing there. Matt gives Paige a nod, and Paige hits Omega with the buckshot lariat and gets the victory and the championship. At least the belt is off Omega, and Paige was able to carry him to a watchable match. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.